What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy, Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. So we're going to start with Jaylen Wright today. I know we've usually been on the other Jaylen up to this point, but we're going to change the gears a little bit today. So sometimes in the draft, we focus on who we drafted that year. It's a very common thing. Like, who do we get in 2024? And you look at how they perform, and you kind of judge your team based on that. But sometimes you have to look a little bit further ahead, right? Especially if you move around in the draft, you don't realize how many picks are being mortgaged for the future until you look back on it, right? So last year we moved up in the fourth round to draft Jaylen Wright. At the time, people thought, all right, kind of a reach. You don't need a running back. You have Raheem, you have Devon, but maybe Mostert's on his way out, so you kind of taking his spot. It makes sense, right? But no one thought going into that draft that running back was a crazy need for the Dolphins, right? Especially with Devon Achane being like our man in waiting. So we basically traded last year's fourth round pick. We did a swap, and then we traded this year's third round pick. That's the reason we don't have a third round pick this year. I know it's kind of just been, I've been saying we had a first, second, and fourth. We don't have a third because we traded it last year for Jaylen Wright. It was a 79th pick, which is right in the middle of the third round. How valuable is a middle of the third round pick, right? But we really thought Jaylen could help us get over the top. I'm not sure what they had in mind for him. I think maybe like a Kamara, Jameer Gibbs type running back is what they were thinking. It didn't really manifest. And so now we're looking back thinking, how good does Jaylen Wright need to be to justify a third round pick? Because if I told you we traded Jaylen Wright right now for a third round pick, you would say, whoa, you fleeced somebody. What an amazing trade. Again, second year of his career. This is obviously premature, and that's somewhat unfair to him. But I think if you could trade most running backs for a third round pick, you would say I got a pretty good deal out of that, right? So we mortgaged that last year, and so now this year we don't have a third round pick. And this year we're basically doing a soft rebuild, soft compete, or somewhere in the middle where a third round pick would be invaluable for a lot of reasons, right? Because if we had a third round pick, you can say round one we're going the most area you need. Maybe you get Booker from Alabama at guard. Round two, D-Tac, Darius Alexander. We get Shamar Stewart, whoever we get. Third round cornerback, we go out there, Porter or what have you. You can have it really kind of laid out. We're going to hit three big areas of needs round by round by round. Now, because we have two second round picks, then a gap in the third round, that second round pick is a little bit more valuable because we kind of have to do we can't really do two, so we got to do one, and then now we have two fourth round picks. So do we package those and try to move into the third? But now we're mortgaging the future again. This is the nature of drafts, and I don't begrudge the trade. I mean, I think Jaylen Wright could be very good. If he becomes what we think he can be, then that sounds cool. But keep in mind, Devon Achane himself was a third round running back pick. And he's our starting running back now. So we traded a third round pick to get Jaylen Wright, who I don't believe has anyone, he's not on anyone's bingo card as our starting running back. Right? No one thinks if Devon gets hurt, we're not like, oh, we're good. We got Jaylen Wright. I don't think anyone feels that way. So it feels like we probably overreached. We probably aren't getting value back for him. And I can see in a couple of years him possibly not being on the team. And that's kind of unfortunate. But we just want to revisit this sometimes because we're probably going to move around in this year's draft. And the idea of, hey, we move the 5 and a 7 to move up, 10 picks. You're like, all right, who cares? We got a good player. And then the next year you look up and say, oh, we have 6 picks this draft. Why don't we have like 9 or 10? Oh, because last year you traded 2 picks to move up 10 spots. You're like, that's how that happens. So I know it's not something we talked about a lot of, but, and again, this is no shade of Jaylen Wright. I think he could be very good. He obviously has a good skill set. He's a little bit bigger than Devon. Still quick, good hands. I hope he develops into a running back too. That would be fantastic. But I very much believe we're drafting running back this year. And if we draft a running back between rounds 4 and 6, there's going to be competition for that spot. And it's very possible Jaylen Wright, by this year, is not our running back too. And, I would say that's probably a disastrous trade then. But we'll see what happens. This is a proposed trade. This is not something that we're actively working on, but I saw this today. Thought I'd bring it to you guys. The trade would be Jonnu Smith, our all-pro tight end or Pro Bowl tight end, being traded to the Jaguars. The Jaguars lost Evan Ingram in offseason. Strange is a solid tight end, but I don't believe they feel like Strange is their guy. He's not like, yo, we're set at tight end. Jonnu Smith just came off easily his best season with us, best season in probably 4 or 5 years. And the question of the trade really boils down to whether you thought last year was an aberration or if you thought last year was the trend. If you thought last year, yo, he balled out, took the world by storm, fantasy, pretty good tight end, then now's a really good time to trade him. His value is as high as it's going to get. Trade him now, get some assets back for him. We can move on. If you think this is the trend, like he's going to continue being good, then I want no part of this trade. Because the proposal is basically the Jaguars to give up a 5th or a 6th round pick for Jonnu straight up. No other players, no future picks. 5th or 6th, Jonnu straight up. And if we think he's going to be good going forward, I think that's more valuable than a 5th or 6th round pick. So I would not want to be anywhere near that. But there are some people who are like, Jaylen wasn't really, he's banged up last year. Tyreek was banged up with the wrist and the knee. And then Jonnu was just kind of like the man that got all the love. He may have kind of overplayed his skis a little bit. He got out ahead of his skis a little bit. We don't think he's 1,000 yards, 7 touchdown guy. We think he's more 650 yard, 3 touchdown guy. And if we can get a 5th round pick for that, that would be great. And if the plan is to try to move up and draft Mason Taylor, then I'm really here for it, because now we get to basically reboot his position, get younger, get cheaper, and bring in a legend son. I'm here for all that. But if it's just we're just trading off assets and don't want to pay him $4 million, then I don't know. I don't think I love that particular part of it, but that's the idea. If we think that he outperformed his skill set last year, then I think the trade makes sense. If we don't, I think Jonnu is actually really good. So I would not personally be here for the trade. I think he's good. I think he's probably outside of top 5, but in the lower end of the top 10. And if he's the 9th best tight end in the league, I think that's worth more than a 5th round pick, personally. If you think he's the 15th best tight end in the league, then I would trade him. I just think he's a little bit better than that. So personally, I would not do the trade. And finally, we're talking about quarterbacks again. We talked about Tyler Shaw last time. Today we're talking about Dillon Gabriel. Now, full disclosure, I got to just put it out there. At many points during this year, it looked like Dillon Gabriel might be the Heisman winner, right? Oregon was number 1. He was putting up gaudy stats, he's breaking records, and they're like, oh man, Oregon's going to have a Heisman Trophy winner again. They haven't had one since Mariota, yada, yada. And that hurt my spirit, and I was rooting against it. Not because I don't like Dillon Gabriel, because he went to UCF to start his career, and then he left us, right? And I'm a little bit petty with that. Because that's happened a couple times where guys start at UCF, and then they just say, oh, I'm going to just go somewhere else and get some burn. So Dillon Gabriel, for those who don't know, had a long college career. But it started at Central Florida. And we thought, hey, we got one, right? We've had a couple good quarterbacks over our time. We thought we had another one. And then he left us for Oklahoma. And had he just stayed at Oklahoma, I probably would have been like, who cares? Oklahoma's irrelevant. But then he went to Oregon. Then he got all the weapons. He got the 14 jerseys. He started putting up gaudy stats. Got to be number 1. Got to get to the college football, top 12 or whatever. And it hurt me, because what UCF struggled in all year with KJ Jefferson was a quarterback. And I was like, man, if we just had Dillon Gabriel, we would have been great at quarterback. But he left. And so when he was probably up to week 7 or 8, it was Dillon Gabriel. Then it was Ashton Genty, and then it was Travis Hunter. And then Travis just leapfrogged everybody over the last few weeks. When he was going to win, I was just like, he better not leave my alma mater, go to Oregon and get a Heisman, and then possibly win a championship. I would have been sick. Now, how does this apply to Miami? None of that does. That was all petty stuff. With the Dolphins, though, the question for Dillon Gabriel basically is, do you think the mold of what Tua is what you want at quarterback? That's the number one question. Gabriel has the arm strength-ish. His arm is good. It's probably a little bit better than Tua's, but it's not elite. He's left-handed, which is awesome because Tua's left-handed. He's a little bit shorter than Tua, I would say, but he's a little bit more athletic, so he can move a little bit more. So he gives you a little bit of variation here, but a little bit less here. Obviously smart. Learned 3 different systems over the span of 5 years. Obviously a very good quarterback. But undersized, sometimes sticks his nose in there, can get hit. When you close the space, because he's a smaller quarterback, gets a little rattled, not particularly great with pressure, especially pressure in the middle. So if you believe that the model of what Tua is, left-handed, quick, accurate, middle of the field, dark passing game, if you think that's what it is, Dillon Gabriel makes the most sense, and I think he'll be available all the way into the 5th. I don't think he's going to get scooped in the 4th. I think Shaw might be gone. I think McCord could be gone. But I think even Quinn Ewers might still be there. I think the league overall pretty low on Dylan Gabriel. He might be there even in the sixth. So if we can really fill a bunch of holes on a team, and then he's just there late fifth, early sixth, and we have a pick and we just go get him, then the value of that is crazy. I don't believe his skill set is that much diminished from Tua's, and he offers some advantages. Again, he is smaller, so you do have to worry about him getting hit, but he didn't really get hurt in college. He was a pretty durable guy. I know his knee was wrapped up a couple times, but he kind of played through the injuries. He wasn't a guy that I was worried about getting concussions. He seems like a tough competitor kind of guy. I like the fact that he's willing to run and he's pretty good at running, so I like that extra element to it. And I think the value of him in the fifth or sixth round is better than the value of, like, I don't know, Quinn Ewers in the fourth. I think that would be overdrafting Quinn, but I think that would be drafting Dylan at an appropriate place. So, and you don't have to change your blocking schemes. Your left tackle, right tackle situation kind of stays where it is. I don't hate the idea. I would hate it in the fourth round. I think that's way too high. Fifth or sixth, I think it could work. Now, if he gets drafted by the Dolphins, I guess I got to put my UCF hate to the side. I guess I could be the bigger person, I suppose, but whatever. I don't want to. I like hating. But if he gets drafted, then I'm going to be a fan, and maybe I'll get a jersey signed at some point. But, hey, he used to go to my school. Y'all don't care about that. But we'll see what happens. I think he'll be a good pick later in the round if we decide to go in that direction. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank you for the likes, subscribes, and reshares. We'll see you guys next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.